because of increasing technology, because of better instant replay, because we can rewatch plays on our phone or our DVR, or before DVR, our TiVo, on our very disposal, and cameras became better, and replays became better, and technology became better for broadcasts, we started to become private detectives, scientists, when it came to instant replays and catches and possessions and things like this. And the NFL tried to remain in lockstep with that. And so think about it like a bridge. That bridge was built in 1925 when the NFL was created. And that bridge basically worked fine up until, let's say, the late 80s, early 90s. You got a good 60 years out of that bridge. And then, because of wear and tear, weather, etc., some of the foundation of the bridge started to crack. And some of the paint started to chip off. And what you realized was this doesn't really work anymore. And so instead of reinforcing the bridge and say, okay, let's do the right thing right now, your municipality went on the cheap. And they said, fresh coat of paint. Let's just fix one of the roadways. Let's do one more beam. Instead of taking down the bridge and building it for a better future, instead of investing the money or the time into a brand new bridge because you got what you needed out of those 65 years, the NFL just kept putting on a little spackle here, a little paint there, a new beam here. And it started to be the old bridge that didn't really make sense anymore, just out of more and more verbiage with the rule book. And then your municipality said, well, why don't we reduce speed on the bridge? You can only go 5 miles an hour on the bridge. And then they said, well, why don't we also say no tall vehicles? So let's put a beam up top so that you can't have trucks go over, no tall vehicles. And then they said, why don't we close the sides on that a little bit so that you can only be so wide. And what you realized was a bridge that worked perfectly because it had no restrictions, regulations for 65 years, had ended up being overly constructed and overly architected. And so now no cars can go through it. And it doesn't make any sense. And you go, this is not even the real bridge anymore. This is not serving anybody. This is what the NFL tried to do with every iteration of the rule book. If you ever went through the NFL rule book and tried to read through a couple of pages or passages, which I have, your brain would explode. It used to be real simple. Not real simple because the NFL and football in general has a long list of rules, but the rules themselves were clear for about 65, 70 years. And then suddenly it was, well, a little dab of paint here. Why don't we add a beam there? Restriction here. Let's add a restriction to the restriction. Let's support this with another beam. Let's close the roadway here. And by the time 2018 rolled around, that looks nothing like the old bridge. Nothing like the old rule book. It has been broken and broken for a long time, and it's because of the way the NFL has consistently tried to tweak tweaks. And when you tweak tweaks, you get so far away from the original, you're screwed.